Hey, how's it going, guys? As highly requested, I've got the Amazon Fire Max 11 tablet. Now, on Prime Day, I paid about $150 before taxes, and that's probably what you can expect around Black Friday, too. I ended up paying, I think $165 after tax, and then minus $11.50 cash back I got from the Prime card. So, I got 7% cash back at the time. I personally think the MSRP is a little too high, being over $200, because you only get, 4 gigs of RAM on this. It is a 2K display and a 64 gigabytes of internal storage. It's nice that this has Dolby Atmos and apparently an octa-core processor, Wi-Fi 6. Inside the box, it's pretty bare bones. You got the tablet itself, and in the box you get the quick start guide, a pin to get to the microSD card slot, a USB-C cable, USB-C to USB-A, and a USB wall outlet. This one has 9 watts. Here's the tablet itself. It has a pretty sleek design. It's not made of cheap plastic anymore. It's got a very premium feel and a pretty thin look. So on the right side or left side, there's nothing. On the top, you do have both speaker grills emitting from the top. I guess it'll make it kind of immersive. It would have been nicer if they were emitted on or if they were put on each other side, one on the left and one on the right, just like how the ONN has. But this is Dolby Atmos. I have some pretty high expectations for this. Got the power button, volume keys. This might be a microphone and or reset button here, one or the other. It doesn't really state it. And then the USB port and microSD card tray is supposed to be here, which you can get to with that pin that comes with it. Up on the bottom, there is a 5-pin magnet to install the keyboard case. And finally, you've got the camera on the front and back that's protruding a little bit. It's not too bad. The front camera is better than I expected. I think that might be the beauty filter on here, something along those lines. It seems like it's a lot more smoother than other devices. And this is a weird glitch, it seems like. Every time you leave it, it becomes kind of wider. I'm not sure why. So this is a bug that they're gonna have to fix. But if I close it and then go back into it, the camera, it comes back to normal. So all I was just showing is that it's a little bit more smooth than other tablet cameras. It is definitely a little bit nicer. I think there is some post-processing going on here. The more you go in, it does get pretty grainy pretty quickly. So not bad overall. Out of the box, there's 54.39 gigs free. That's quite a bit. And can't forget that there's a microSD card slot. This screen is pretty nice. It gets relatively bright at 410 nits. Nothing too crazy. This isn't enough to watch stuff in HDR. It's not going to be too impressive. I guess watching videos in general is going to be nice on here because of those Dolby speakers, which are on top here. And not to mention this being laminated and having widevine level L1. That is probably the biggest difference between this and other off-branded devices. You can watch videos at full HD 1080p pretty much anywhere you go. That's what widevine level L1 means. And by the way, the CPU is an MT8188, which I'll talk about more in just a moment. Say that I'm a little disappointed. The speakers are pretty nice. There's no getting around the fact that this is a compelling tablet for media consumption. Being able to watch videos at 1440p on here. I think this one's at 1080p right now, but I could level it up if I want to. Yep, no, it's at 1440p. So, and then the speakers are pretty good. They don't get as loud as I was expecting there, but nonetheless, it's not bad at all. I don't really mind it too much. My only other gripe is the Amazon App Store. This is the YouTube app from the Amazon App Store. It kind of feels like a web version of it. And unfortunately, as you play videos, you can't have a mini browser open, which is very unfortunate. That's actually crucial for me. That's something I use pretty often, so being limited on functionality or some features it's not nice. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't know what Amazon is thinking with the App Store. This thing is not good whatsoever. Some apps are outdated, like CPU-Z I tried to download on here, and it just didn't work because it said that it was like some older version. So what I had to do was sideload the Google Play Store and download all these apps you see on the bottom here. Heck, they didn't even have Geekbench 6. I had to run the Geekbench 5, the old Geekbench 5, until I found out the Play Store does support Geekbench 6 on here. So I have all these downloaded and more on the Play Store. I have a video on this separately that'll have an annotation here at the end, or it'll be down in the description. But what is Amazon thinking? They cannot win against this. Look at how many gacha games there are, how many anime games, just how much support is in general. Actually, I don't like the gacha games personally. I think it's just oversaturated with that, but that's beside the point. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but my slight concern is that games or apps may not be as well optimized because this is a forked version of Android and it's an older version of Android, but I guess we'll have to see how it goes. So far, multitasking, doing basic things is pretty easy. I haven't noticed any really delays whatsoever. It's really nice. Multitasking I haven't used as much, but from the little time I did get to use it, it seems to be just fine. From Geekbench 6, I thought this was a little interesting. The single core score is 932, and the multi-core score is 2256. Compared to the ONN tablet, the ONN 11-inch, which is basically like its direct competitor, this has a slightly higher score by like 100 or 200, while the GPU score wasn't as good. It's just at 1000, that one was at like 1200. The GPU is an ARM Mali G57 MC2, just like the ONN 11-inch, but the CPU is a little different, being MT8188. So I'm curious to see how game performance is going to be on here. First game here is Roblox. I turned it down quite a bit, and it seems a little bit laggy, especially when I go into combat. There are times when it just, there was actually one time it just froze there earlier, and it's a little disappointing to see. Graphics are set to the lowest. Even when it's at its highest, I think I saw a bit more frame rate drops. It just wasn't as smooth. Next game here is Runescape, and it seems to run pretty well at the lowest settings. You can see that it's mostly at the upper 50s and 60s, and 60, it caps at 60 FPS. So the closer you are, I guess, the more likely you're gonna see 60 frames per second consistently, but after that, if you zoom out, you lose some of it, but it's still good enough. Yeah, overall, it's really smooth at the lowest settings. Now, if we step it up a notch, here's what I changed the graphics settings to, and I only checked out a couple of things, not everything here. Okay, it's still running around 30 FPS. It looks a lot nicer now. We do notice 30 to 60, it is a pretty big difference. Since this is not an FPS game, 60 FPS doesn't really matter that much, except for if you want it to look nice and smooth. Finally, gotta check out Genshin Impact. The interesting thing about this here is I have it set to medium settings, and initially it was super slow, and at times it really does stutter and freeze up in some fights. I don't know if I'd say to the point where it's not playable, because I still survived everything, but it just sucks to see that. But I'm surprised at how like smooth this is right now. Yeah, I do have it set to 60 FPS, which does look nice. But if I change it to the lowest settings, it's about the same. I guess it would be a little bit smoother. Oh, and I guess some of the graphics, not everything was implied when I changed it, so there's that. This is 30 FPS at the very lowest settings. You can change it to 60, even though it says it's going to be overclocked for some reason, which I don't know why, but to me, it just seems playable. Look at this. If I go into the menu, she just pops up really smoothly. I don't know, there's something about it. It has to be the CPU. Some low-end to mid-tier games are playable on here. Not everything will work smoothly because, unfortunately, there is the Google Play Store that you'll be downloading from, because not all apps are supported, unfortunately. I'm not sure exactly which ones aren't, but I've just heard about that. Again, this is a forked version of Android. It's not supposed to support the Google Play Store for some reason. I don't know why they complicate these things. But nonetheless, if you're looking for something that's a good tablet for media consumption, because this has wideband level L1, and then the speakers are decent, so that's really the biggest takeaway from this. I guess it's fair to say this is probably the best tablet if you can get it at $150 around Black Friday and Prime Day, and anywhere in between. Not a fan of Fire OS? No problem. Walmart has introduced the ONN 11 Tablet Pro, which I have a video for and an annotation where you can check it out right now. And I'll have a link down below. And also, quick PSA, avoid the ONN 10.4-inch Pro because it has 3 gigs of RAM and it doesn't perform well.